This is a production of WGBH2 Boston. News with local depth and local perspective. As the EPA takes aim at coal, we look at the status of the long-stalled Cape Wind project. Plus,
I don't want the kids to forget.
Preserving history by recreating D-Day in a box. And the tearjerker about young love that could be the movie of the summer. From the WGBH News studios, this is Greater Boston.
Hello, welcome to Greater Boston on TV and streaming online and on mobile. I'm Emily Rooney. When it was first proposed 13 years ago, the Cape Wind project was a revolutionary idea that promised to jumpstart the green economy in Massachusetts. But then a slew of lawsuits took some of the wind out of its sails. Now, though, the developers of the wind farm off Nantucket say they are finally poised to break ground. We here at WGBH have been covering the Cape Wind project since it was a twinkle in developers' eyes. Here we are in 2003. The proposed wind farm has been at the center of a Nantucket sound-off for years. The controversy ranged from potential damage to natural habitats to the aesthetic. But developers say the trade-offs are worth it, as the planned 130 turbines on the shoals of Nantucket Sound will provide 3/4 of the Cape's energy needs.
This particular project that we're looking at is a great example of how we in Massachusetts, and specifically here in Cape Cod, can lead the country in getting energy independence.
But despite its selling points, the wind farm has had powerful detractors, from former Attorney General Tom Riley
This will be the desecration of Nantucket Sound.
to one-time summer residents Walter Cronkite and Senator Ted Kennedy.
And expect me to roll over. I don't roll over.
To the Cape Cod Times, to the very vocal Alliance to Protect Nantucket Sound.
I would just say to that picture your favorite vacation spot. Now picture it with 1 or 2 turbines. Now picture it with 170.
Over the years, Cape Wind President Jim Gordon has fought and won 5 federal lawsuits, convinced Mass Audubon that damage to migratory birds will be minimal, garnered the support of Governor Deval Patrick, and pulled together half of the $2.6 billion in financing it needs to start the project. Meanwhile, if Cape Wind does not start construction in 2015, it could be the death knell. That's when the project's contractual agreements with state utilities expire. All right, I am joined now by the president of Cape Wind, Jim Gordon. Welcome back to Greater Boston.
Hi, Emily. How are you?
So now you're finally convinced that this is going to be it, because those utility contracts could be a bit of a nuisance if you don't start in 2015.
Yes, we're working forward. We won 2 very large lawsuits over the last couple of months. In fact, finally, after the 26th lawsuit, the federal district court judge wrote a scathing opinion and said that their litigation strategy has been a vexatious abuse of the democratic process. But we've been winning these lawsuits. We're putting the financing together, and we really want to start delivering important benefits of Cape Wind, and that's clean energy, really mitigating climate change, creating lots of new jobs, and really kickstarting a new industry that could mushroom off the whole East Coast.
I mean, when you first had this idea, and it was actually well before 2001 because it was in the development phases, it was really innovative, cutting edge. But since then, a lot of new projects have come online similar to this. And there's also a lot of talk now about making the ocean currents do the wind. I mean, is the technology cutting edge as it was?
The technology is cutting edge, and there are 61 offshore wind farms operating off of Europe and Asia, with many more to be built. Unfortunately, the United States doesn't have one wind turbine in the water yet, and part of it has been because of this long battle of getting through the regulatory scheme, and also, unfortunately, the lawsuits that have been primarily funded by a coal billionaire that doesn't want, it's a very NIMBY attitude, not in my backyard, and also he's in the coal business and doesn't want to see a disruptive industry like offshore wind starting to take big market share away.
There was another lawsuit, I think today, the town of Barnstable, and there was some critical stuff written about that too, but I mean, are these all nuisance lawsuits at this time?
It's a frivolous appeal of that case I just mentioned, where the judge said that the whole predicate of their case was untrue and misleading. And that is being funded. The town of Barnstable is actually being funded by William Koch, who's a coal billionaire, and one of the Koch brothers, who they don't like renewable energy. They'd rather burn coal and oil.
I mean, this is all timely in terms of the president's announcement that he wants to have 30%, I think it is, less coal-burning energy, or 70%, I can't remember the exact, by within 20 years.
And Emily, on May 6th, the National Climate Assessment was put out, and this was a document compiled by thousands of climate scientists. And basically, part of it talked about the impact of climate change on Massachusetts and this region. And it's very significant in terms of coastal flooding, hotter temperatures, increased asthma, and health-related incidences. So climate change is happening now, and the administration's stepping up and saying, look, you've got to cut carbon pollution by 30%. Is a very significant step forward, and the way we achieve those goals is through energy efficiency, renewable energy, and making the existing power plants use less fuel and put out less pollution.
Now, I know you've addressed this before, but explain to us again why this is going to be more costly to Cape and Island residents when it first goes online. Can't you mitigate that at this point?
You know, Emily, in January and February, you saw the headlines about skyrocketing electricity prices that were driven by natural gas, okay? Those prices were higher than Cape Wind's prices. The thing about our project is that the price of the wind will never go up. As the price of fossil fuels go up, Cape Wind becomes a much better value. And really, if you look at the external costs of burning coal and oil now, and you put in the health-related effects, the military defense expenditures to protect the Persian Gulf supply lines, climate mitigation, I would tell you that those costs are higher now. So Cape Wind is going to be a significant value to this region and to the Cape and Islands consumers.
So all those animations that we showed in our opening setup piece, they're 12, 13, 14 years old. Has the aesthetics of it changed? Has any of the design of it changed? Do the windmills look the same?
Well, when we started, the windmills were like going to be 1.8 megawatts. Then they went up to 2.5. Now we have 3.6 megawatt turbines. So originally it was going to be 170 turbines when we first proposed it. We've been able to get it down to 130. And these wind turbines are going to be miles offshore, so that the visual impact is going to be mitigated by the distance. They'll be on the horizon, and they'll be like quarter-inch, they'll look like sailing masts on the horizon.
No, I know. You will see them, and there have been all kinds of artists rendering done and that. But the Audubon Society has now passed off on this. What about the fishing industry?
Well, the fishing industry, the seafarers, which is the largest commercial fishing union in Massachusetts, has endorsed the project. Not only Mass Audubon, but Sierra Club, Greenpeace, Conservation Law Foundation, NRDC. These are organizations that have been fighting to move to a cleaner energy future and mitigate climate change because of the impacts it's going to have on our health and environment. And they're for this project. They've been supporting us. They've been supporting us in the courts through amicus briefs. So we're really proud of that kind of support.
All righty. I'm going to come out of retirement to interview when you get this online.
You're going to be on the vessel sailing through the wind turbines.
Jim Gordon, thanks for coming.
Thank you, Emily.